Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Disruption Talks, where we invite top experts to discuss digital acceleration, winning strategies, innovation, and scaling products. My name is Karolina Długosz. I am sustainability lead for NetGuru and a client partner. And I have a very special guest today, Alison Paul, who is lead product manager for chatbots and Gen AI at Flo Health App. Welcome, Alison.
Hi, Caroline. Great to be here. I'm really thrilled to be on the episode this week.
Great to have you. The topic for our today's discussion is how Flo is revolutionizing women's health through impact-driven innovation. And we had a little warm-up for those of you who are in the audience today. And we agreed that since you have a 6-year-old baby on board, you are a morning person. But I wanted to ask you a warm-up question to start our conversation. And I'm guessing you can answer that at any time of the day and night, which is what is Flo, what this app is doing, how long it's been on the market, and all, tell all the listeners what is this application actually doing?
Yeah, so Flo is the largest female health app in the world, largest period tracking app in the world. It has 70 million monthly active users, now 5 million paid subscribers, and it's about 9 years old. So before Flo, when I was trying to get pregnant like 10 years ago, their period tracking apps were essentially just a bit like a kind of pen and essentially the old days of pen and paper, but on a calendar. So certainly apps that I used to get pregnant myself many years ago were pretty basic. But Flo came along and it completely shook up the space. And how it did that, it was basically, what it does is for women with both, and people who menstruate with both regular and irregular cycles, it helps you understand your periods better, understand your cycles better, get access to women's health information. And what it really is it's helping women to make better decisions about their health.
And when you say this, I immediately am analyzing this through positive impact, because NetGuru is a B Corp certified organization, which means we take care of the impact of the world, and you do the same. Actually, your app is a great impact-driven business model because of the fact that you are digital. You reach people with poorest health access, actually, who cannot very often reach the medical services in different communities across the world. So I wanted to understand, how is Flo actually impacting women's health around the world? If you can tell us a bit more or draw us the picture of this.
Yeah, well, this was exactly why I joined Flo like nearly 3.5 years ago. I'd spent a lot of my career, in charity. I worked with government doing public health campaigns, things like Change for Life, and then I was in health insurance as well. And I worked in a venture that was all about giving more access to people with healthcare through pay per use model. But I always saw the struggle that exists, particularly in the UK. It's incredibly difficult to reach people who actually are the people most in need, the people who slip through our public health infrastructures. Yeah. It's incredibly challenging for charities to reach as well, particularly after COVID with the funding challenges in charity. But what's exciting is that Flo, through its scale and growth now, 70 million monthly active users, 1 in 6 women, I think it might be even more, using Flo in the US. And the US also has a very, another challenging healthcare system where people fall through the cracks as well. And Flo is able to give these women an understanding about their cycles that they never had before, and health education about their bodies that they would never have got or wouldn't have seen at school, so that they can understand whether something is wrong. And I think because I've sat in so many user interviews over the years at Flo, a lot of people think my cycles have always been this way. I guess I've always had really heavy periods, or I guess my cycles are always irregular, and that's just the way I am. And so Flo nudges people to understand that actually something might not be okay, and that you might need to get something checked out with a doctor.
You use the term health literacy for that.
Yeah, health literacy, I think it's becoming, I really love the word health literacy, but over the last 10 years, it's becoming a lot more used in health tech and healthcare. And health literacy is all about your awareness and understanding of your body, and what it's going to take for you to go and understand that something is wrong and reach the doctor. And it's also about when you present at the doctor, the more health literate you are, the more you can fight for your cause, because women with endometriosis have to visit the doctor 8 times or something before they are like actually referred to a consultant. It's very much known. So you have to fight for your corner. You have to know your stuff about your cycle to advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
In order to get the kind of outcome you deserve.
And if we're speaking of the impact, Flo is free in certain countries. Is that right? Like the access is free.
Yes, it is. So the Pro-Social Initiative, it was set up actually off the back of the war in the Ukraine, because we have a lot of people in the company who were affected by the war. A lot of people had to relocate, left their families behind. It was a huge like ordeal that happened at Flo, and the company took care of a lot of employees who were affected. And off the back, a lot of people in the company said, we want to do something for people who are still there. And so Flo was given free premium use in the Ukraine. And then obviously the question started after that, like, well, now shouldn't we do this in other countries as well?
Our communities, yes.
Yeah, so I think the latest, like 66 countries, 17 million free premium subscriptions of Flo have been given away for free across those countries.
That's great. That's absolutely pro bono work. All right, now, so we now know what Flo is doing, how you are building health literacy, and I would like to understand now, what is the superpower of Flo? Like, well, okay, maybe there's the Flo, the health sector is growing. Tell me, what is the superpower of Flo?
Yeah, people often ask me, like, why does Flo have that kind of magic that it does? And yeah, I can say kind of, this is my own perspective as a product person, who's been here for a while and seen a lot of things in the healthcare sector. So I think the first kind of secret ingredient of Flo is that it's very personalized and reactive. So when you log your period, when you log a symptom in Flo, it reacts, and you will see we call it the stories carousel, which has got like short form content that you can swipe through. So you can see, and these stories are incredibly well loved by our users, because it's a very short bit of content that you can swipe through and you consume for that day. It's the second day of my cycle. What should I know? And this kind of form of content is really, really successful. There's also a lot of really useful graphical information, so you can really understand if your cycle's regular or irregular. You can see how your symptoms sit in patterns, like, do your cramps occur mostly in ovulation? So it's incredibly reactive, and it's also very precise in its accuracy. So any Flo user will say, like, how on earth does it get it so right? Like that is normally why a lot of you'll see on App Store reviews, people sort of saying, like, that's the amazing thing. But there are these features in Flo that are so universally loved. They are things like the stories, the secret chats community, which was like a really early feature. It's free.
Secret chat.
It's a community on Flo of Flo
Okay.
users, all completely anonymous, talking about their own experiences of like a huge, massive range of different topics. So the community is very, very advanced and very well loved as well.
So you
And then
have a secure knowledge exchange between small groups.
yeah, so they at the moment they are quite large. They are like
Okay.
thousands of people
No
on
longer small.
it's not small. No, there are thousands of people like on big streams being able to, and it's all anonymous. You just kind of post your comments and things like that. That's a very well loved feature, which I don't. Yeah, though these kind of communities exist on other apps like Peanut, for example, that is a specific like mum sort of. I always think Peanut's a great app, but it's like mum dating, you know. It's specific in other apps, but it's all there in Flo. And the chatbot area that I've managed for the entire time that I've been here as well, it's no other period tracking app has a chatbot like that. You can't, you know, and this is for users that really want to go into more depth and more understanding. So if you're a person who really wants to understand, like, so why might my cycles be so irregular all of a sudden? What could be going on? Is it to do with the travel that I've just done with my job? Is it to do with stress? Might it be that I'm approaching kind of perimenopause? So you're able to sort of really get in depth with the chatbot and understand and inform yourself in a lot more depth through the chatbot area. So these are the sort of features that are pretty unique to Flo, and it makes it more than a period tracker. It makes it a women's health partner that is, it takes somebody from their teenage years all the way through to the menopause. Okay.
Thank you for that. I'm pretty sure we will come back to the chat part because we do have already questions from people who were waiting for this episode to happen. But before we get there, I wanted to ask you. You say this is personalized, and so the question is, how is it secure in that case? Security must be one of the most important aspects of this product.
Yeah, so we work incredibly closely with we have data privacy, security, and compliance teams who are the key stakeholders that I work with. And Flo is the only period tracking app that is ISO certified for security and data privacy.
Oh, for both.
For both, dual
All right.
certification. And so it means that all of our processes, like when we are creating new features, when we are improving new features, it's privacy by design. So it means that the privacy team are involved right from the raw idea of this feature as you develop it. As an engineer will write what we call like an architectural decision record. That's where they start to scope out the solution. What is this feature going to look like? We're doing this right now because I'm adding more controls on the chatbot for data deletion. So I'm giving users more control to delete specific bits of their data on the chatbot. That feature has been because you can obviously ask for your data to be deleted through GDPR and reach our customer support, but I'm putting more controls into the app at the moment for users to specifically delete by individual kind of chats. That feature, right from its raw idea, was involved like with the data privacy team. And so as we build a feature, we're writing the solution documents, they're reviewing the architecture. Once the feature's coming out in testing, they're reviewing it again. So it's a complete, they're involved from start to finish, basically, when we're creating new features. We have to be, because we have the standard set for you to get an ISO accreditation with security and data privacy is high. So you have to show that your stakeholders are involved the entire way through your path to production.
As a product owner, this is one of your probably the most important stakeholders, security teams.
Yeah, security and data privacy. And medical. Like it's hard, like building in healthcare. It's not like, I don't know, it's complex because you have to be medically safe, you have to be secure, you have to make sure you're following data privacy principles. So it's everything. So
it makes me go to the question we had. We've been asked on LinkedIn, because I think it's very adequate to what you're describing right now. So we have one of your user who loves your app, and she is asking this question first. She has a number of questions, but I would go with this one. Flo is not a medical device, yet in some aspects, it supports the patient in self-diagnosis. I would love to know, how is that addressed by the product and legal teams combined? So, and probably security teams combined. I would assume the difference lies between diagnosing and supporting patients' actions by providing knowledge, which is what you're saying, and simply educating, which is legally two different things, but still really interesting. So this is our listener question.
So obviously, I am not a legal expert.
Yeah.
I'm a product person, but I have worked with the legal team for the entire time that I've been here at Flo on this exact area. And again, not a legal person, but the essence is that no, Flo cannot provide medical advice because we do not have medical device accreditation. So when you're seeing something like Symptom Checker in the US, or the dialogue assessments, I call them assessments, but what they are actually like a checklist. So what we're doing is checking how many of the signs of PCOS that you might exhibit. You might exhibit like 6 out of the 12 signs of PCOS. We are not saying that you have PCOS. We're not at all.
Okay.
So we're giving, because of the Flo being not a medical device, we have to empower people with the information that they need to go and have a good conversation with their healthcare provider, so that they have the right evidence in their hands to have that conversation with somebody who is a medical professional, who can talk to them about, a doctor can say, yes, okay, you've got these signs from Flo, therefore I think I'm going to make that referral for you. And actually the scientific publication that was done for Symptom Checker that the science team published a few months ago, it showed that. So it showed that the Symptom Checker itself, which is this assessment type feature, it is a checklist, but it is showing that people are presenting earlier at the doctor. And that means that I think the science team have said that therefore, if people present earlier, there is a better chance of a better outcome. You're going to get treatment quicker. You're going to have a less kind of complex intervention, that sort of thing. So it's trying to get people to the doctor earlier with their symptoms and getting them to recognize, I'm exhibiting quite a number of symptoms that could be associated with PCOS.
So the Symptom Checker is already available for users.
In the US, it is. In Europe, it's having, like I said, some adjustments because we have different regulation in Europe. So it's going to be slightly changed. It's going to have slightly different name, but it's coming soon.
Okay, and at the same time, Symptom Checker is not AI based, but you are working on something new that is including Gen AI. Can you tell us a little bit at least?
Yeah, I can. So I've set up this new product team over the last 6 months, and we are in a R&D phase. So we've run, these are large language model based chatbots. So we've had 2 tests for very small proportions of users, where we are giving users access to these large language models. There was 2. There was one which was to do with a course that we had, which was all about understanding your orgasm. This is Flo, of course. And another one, which is all about helping you like ask questions about your own cycle, like when is my next period due? What date is my ovulation? How do my cycles vary? So so these have been that they're in R&D, so we have a small fraction of users who get access, and these have 100% medical oversight right now. So if you imagine, we have clinicians reading every single part of this conversation. And why are we doing this? It's because basically at the scale Flo is, we have a massive responsibility to our users to use this technology in an ethical and a safe manner. Absolutely. So we have to make sure that we have everything in place, that we have a really safe, accurate model for when we do decide to go and release this in a larger scale. And also that I'm already talking with the science team about publications that we could do. So we're already having the conversations with medical about the need that we're going to have to publish articles about our approach to generative AI and our approach particularly to medical safety, about how we're going to ensure that any LLM-based chatbots that we have in the app we can say to users, yeah, this, it makes mistakes, but we feel confident as a business that we have all the guardrails in place. So that's why these are small scale tests. So you might be a lucky user who might have seen one of these. But yeah, and we did semi-ethnographic research with users as well. We've been watching users use these LLMs with their cycles, understanding how they're feeling about it as well. So all of this is essentially a big kind of foundation that I'm setting with the teams to hopefully give us, the confidence and the safety to use this technology at scale in next year, I hope.
This looks very exciting. And I will use this chance to ask the question that we have. Does Flo have a group of designated users that support the company in running A/B tests, or is that solved differently? The way I'm reading this question, because it's from the same user, is how can I be the user that is testing?
We don't have like it's because it's such a scale, right? So Flo has an experiment service that all the product managers use at Flo. So we have this. I think a lot of people, if you've been to a product talk about Flo, you will know Flo launches a lot of, many experiments per week. It's huge. So we have an experiment service. Therefore, if you're a user, you may be in different experiment groups. You might see features earlier. You may even see what we kind of call fake doors. Sometimes we are seeing if people want a feature. So we're testing people's appetite for a new feature before we build it. So you will see that. I can tell you as well with those the Gen AI tests that we've done, we even asked users, do you want to be part? Because it's not like, I don't know, it's not like seeing a new piece of content about, I don't know, perimenopause or something. Generative AI is quite a hot topic, and people have a lot of opinions. So with those experiments, we have an opt-in. Do you want to actually test this? This is something new. Do you want to test it? So we've put opt-ins actually into the experiments that we've run. But yeah, it's not like we have one group of users who receive all of the new features. You will most probably, if you're a Flo user, you will have been part of an experiment in which you might have seen a new type of most likely like a new piece of content or a new widget with a graph on the main screen, or a new chatbot, and so we get to understand, like, are things working before rolling them out. And that's like, it's always been a big part of Flo. Flo's always been very data driven in its approach, and that's another reason I think for its huge success.
It's great to know that. And one more question about the use of AI and chatbots. I wonder how, if you know, I don't know if you know, but that's a question from our audience. I wonder, how is the model for the chatbot trained in order to avoid hallucinations? In health-oriented environment, hallucinations are a particularly tricky. For example, mistaking KAT, which is computerized axial tomography, with CAT. Do you know
Yes.
that?
So I'm not gonna. So we are working with a large provider of with a large language model. Flow, we have not built a large language model in-house at Flow,
Okay.
but this is typical of most startups right now. So we are working
Mhm.
with a large provider on the market with their large language model, where they have already done a huge amount of research on their model, and we are just putting adjustments on top, like rules, if I would say. So they've already had to do a lot of work on the bias and the hallucinations. However, we are obviously, like I said, with the tests that we've done, we're doing 100% oversight right now in terms of the analysis, because we're talking very small proportions of users. So yeah, we're not building large language
Okay.
models
Yeah.
in-house. So
Okay. Understand. Yeah.
yeah, but this is what I mean in the fact that we're in an R&D phase, and it's about us feeling confident as a business that we've got those guardrails in place, so that we believe that the model that we want to use is going to be safe enough in terms of, you know, hallucinations and,
For example,
it's clinical safety. Like I said, it comes down to that. So that is the work that we're doing right now to address all of those questions that people have, obviously.
I'm looking forward to it, and I have few questions because we are coming to the end slowly, but I would like to ask you some maybe short questions. But if you think about the future of health tech, what's there in your opinion?
Yeah, so this is my imaginary world of
Go
where we want
ahead.
to be in
Go
10
ahead.
years' time.
Okay.
So my hope is that we're going to have this big intersection between wearable and medical devices and generative AI,
Mm.
because I can already see in our health tech sector a huge number of wearable. I'm wearing an Oura ring right now, but there is going to be a huge growth of these kind of devices coming onto the market. You can see it already with things like Lingo, Oura, Luna, like all sorts of these kind of devices coming on, and there will be more and more. I think in 10 years' time, we're all going to have things like stuck on our arms and like all over the place, rings, you know, watches, like even more. And so I think that you'll be a lot of your health data is going to be like kind of pulled from these devices. So I can imagine that an incredibly accurate prediction of when your period would be. Like, can you imagine that that your period is going to arrive exactly at this time because you've just seen there's been a bunch of changes in your
Yeah.
glucose and your
Okay.
temperature, and that
So
your sleep was bad the night before and you had the cramps, and it's like, okay, I think can you imagine a world where we would know that your period was going to start
you
at a certain
stop being surprised every month. Like, wow, it's today.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and particularly, oh, as women, like, you know, I'm in my early 40s, like, as your cycles become irregular, and it becomes even more of like, wait, when is it going to, what is it
Yeah.
going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is it going to be heavy? Is it going to be late? Like, imagine being able to know that with like some certainty
Oh
if
yeah.
you're irregular, like when it's going to arrive. And also, I would just love a future where you could like just chat into Flow, you know, if you're experiencing something like, you know, blood clots and things, being able to like take a photo. Is it something I need to go and see? Is it, because at the moment, is it the size of a 50p, which is blood clots? Should you go to the doctor? Like, you're trying to work that out. It's really hard. Like, imagine a world where you can like take a photo, upload it to Flow. Flow's going to say, you know, I think you should do X, Y, and Z. Like, is it something to be concerned about? That's why I'm so excited. Like, multimodal large language models, generate like devices all coming together, I think could be really pivotal, not like for health tech in general, definitely pivotal for things like diabetes and all that, but also hugely pivotal for women's health too.
And in the femtech, in that case, what do you think is the biggest challenge for the coming years?
I think it's inevitably funding. Like, you don't
Oh
have
yeah.
to be, you know, you can look on all of the discussions going on in the femtech community right now. The biggest problem is funding. Flow is like the second ever unicorn in Femtech. So it's and many early stage startups are struggling to get funding in Femtech. It was always like a struggle over the years, but it's still a struggle right now. It is incredible, given that women make up 50% of the population, that it's a struggle to invest in female health. But I think the challenge is that many it's a bit like the challenge you have in pharma with drugs as well. It's the challenge that when you have, there can be like very specific conditions and very specific femtech startup that will deal with very specific things. And that can be a challenge sitting in front of investors to say like, oh,
invest in the small,
make money. The audience is so small, and this is the challenge. And there's, it harks back to the fact that women's health itself has always been behind. Like, you didn't have to have a woman in your clinical trial study for a drug until the mid-90s. You could release it without having tested it on a single woman. So this is what also this legacy of the gap in women's health is also still affecting femtech co-founders, startups trying to get that funding, and that is the challenge for the sector.
It's a bit sad because we're in 21st century. So much things has been said about that. The visibility of women in medical sector and healthcare. Okay, then quick question: is there a men tech already?
There is. There are Mentech. There are some Mentech startups out there. The biggest one is Newman.
Newman, okay.
Newman is the biggest by far. Okay. I guess in the European healthcare, I'm not sure how big they are in the States for people who are listening in the US. But certainly in the European health tech scene, they're probably the biggest. They're dealing with things like, erectile dysfunction, men's mental health, that sort of area. And definitely there are obviously a bunch of conditions that affect men, like suicide and extreme mental health conditions that Newman and other startups are looking into, and absolutely support all of the work that they do.
Great to know that. Thank you so much, Alison, for this conversation. First of all, we cross fingers for you and for what you do with in the product development in Flo. You shared a lot of knowledge. It was very insightful. Thank you for that. And I hope we can meet in, I would say, closer distance than 10 years, faster, and see that what you just draw as a picture of the future is there, and we can, and that the healthcare is, thanks to digital solutions, spread to different groups who have not access to medical service so much.
I hope so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.